Most people think respect comes from how you treat others. Being nice, being easy, being someone people feel comfortable around. But let me ask you something. How many times have you said yes when you actually wanted to say no? You smiled, even though something felt off. You stayed quiet, just to avoid conflict. And you told yourself, I'm just being a good person. No, you're performing. Jung called this the persona, the mask you wear to be accepted. But here's the part no one tells you. Every time you choose that mask, you abandon yourself. Imagine this. Someone asks you for a favor you don't want to do. You hesitate. You feel it in your body, that quiet resistance. But you ignore it. You say yes anyway. They thank you. But something inside you tightens. That feeling? That's self-betrayal. And people can feel it. They may like you. They may even rely on you. But they won't fully respect you. Because respect doesn't come from being agreeable. It comes from being real. You can be warm and still say no. You can be kind and still have boundaries. And when you stop performing, something shifts. People stop seeing you as easy and start taking you seriously. You don't lose respect by saying no. You lose it by not being honest. But when you start being more real, a different mistake shows up. You begin to think caring means helping, fixing, saving, solving. Someone comes to you with a problem. They're struggling, they're overwhelmed, and without even realizing it, you step in. You give advice. You try to make things better. You want to take the weight off them. It feels right. But look closer. You're not just helping. You're trying to control the outcome. Not because you're a bad person, but because their discomfort makes you uncomfortable. So you rush to remove it. Imagine this. They're venting. They're still mid-sentence. And you interrupt with a solution. Why don't you just do this? You should handle it like this. They go quiet. Not because you helped, but because you didn't actually hear them. Jung believed that struggle has meaning. That pain isn't just something to eliminate, it's something to go through. And when you try to save someone too quickly, you take away their process. You take away their power. Real respect looks different. You sit there. You listen. You don't rush to fix. You care without taking control. And that's harder than it sounds, because it forces you to tolerate discomfort, theirs and yours. Not all help is respect. Sometimes stepping back is. And here's where most people get it completely wrong. You think you respect someone, but you're not actually seeing them. You're seeing who they could become. You notice their potential, their good moments, the version of them that shows up sometimes. And you hold on to that. You tell yourself, they didn't mean it, they're just going through something. They'll change. So you stay. You invest more. You give more chances. But let's be honest for a second. How many times have they shown you the same pattern? They cancel last minute. They say one thing then do another. They cross your boundaries and call it normal. And every time it happens, you explain it away. That's not respect. That's projection. Carl Jung warned about this. He believed that we don't see people as they are, we see them through our own unconscious expectations. We project meaning onto them. We fill in the gaps with what we want to believe. And that's dangerous. Because now, you're not in a relationship with reality. You're in a relationship with your imagination. A real example. Someone stays in a toxic relationship for years. Not because the person treats them well, but because deep down they're a good person. But deep down doesn't build trust. Patterns do. Behavior does. Reality does. Respect begins the moment you accept this. People are not their potential. They are their patterns. When someone shows you who they are consistently, that is the truth. Not their promises, not their intentions, their actions. And when you finally stop arguing with reality, everything becomes clear. You don't stay out of hope anymore. You choose based on truth. If you've ever ignored red flags because of potential comment one, because the earlier you see this, the less time you lose. You don't get hurt because people change. You get hurt because you ignore who they've always been. But it goes even deeper than how you see others. The real problem is how you see yourself. Most people don't trust their own inner world. They feel something is off, but they hesitate. They think, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe it's not that serious. Maybe it's just me. So instead of trusting that signal, they look outside. They ask friends. They wait for validation. They need someone else to confirm what they already feel. And slowly, something shifts. Their reality is no longer theirs. Imagine this. You walk away from a conversation feeling uneasy. You can't explain it clearly, but something didn't feel right. Instead of honoring that feeling, you start analyzing it away. You replay the situation. You justify the other person. You minimize your own reaction. Until eventually, you silence yourself. Jung described this as losing connection with the self when the inner voice gets replaced by external noise. And once that happens, you start depending on others to define what's real. If they agree, you feel secure. If they don't, you doubt yourself. That's not confidence. That's dependency disguised as logic. Real respect looks different. You don't rush to explain everything. You don't need everyone to understand. You listen inward first. You trust the signal, even if it's quiet, even if it's inconvenient, even if no one else sees it yet. Because your experience is valid before it's approved. And when you stand in that, calmly, without over-explaining, something changes. People feel your certainty. Not loud, not aggressive, just unshakable. Punchline. The moment you stop doubting your inner voice is the moment others stop doubting you. And this is where everything comes together. Respect was never about them. It was always about you. Not how nice you are, not how much you give, not how well you're perceived, but how firmly you stand in your own reality. When you stop performing, you stop needing approval. When you stop controlling, you stop draining yourself. When you stop projecting, you start seeing clearly. And when you stop outsourcing your truth, you finally come back to yourself. This is what most people never reach, because it's uncomfortable. It means you won't always be liked. You won't always be understood. You won't always be agreed with. But something more important happens. You become grounded. Imagine walking into a room and not needing to impress anyone, not adjusting your personality, not scanning for reactions, not overthinking every word. You're just there, calm, clear, unmoved. That kind of presence doesn't beg for respect. It commands it without trying. Because people can feel when someone is no longer negotiating who they are. They feel the difference between someone who performs and someone who stands in truth. And here's the shift. You stop chasing respect and start embodying it. No noise, no force, no explanation. Just alignment. Respect begins the moment you stop betraying yourself.